So today I'm going to be talking about how mental illness can be affected by sleep. But before I get into it, I want everybody to close your eyes. Picture a child that you care about. Could be your child, can be somebody else's child, just a child that you care about. Picture them smiling, endlessly happy the way that only children can be. Optimistic, joyful, completely carefree. Now I want you to age that child a few years. Put them in middle school. At this point, the smile doesn't quite reach their eyes anymore. They're less optimistic. Now age them a few more years. Put them in high school. Suddenly they're not smiling so much anymore. They're exhausted. They're stressed out. And they may be depressed. What are you worried about looking at this picture? Are you worried about them having too much homework? Are you worried about them maybe doing things that they shouldn't be doing? Maybe what you should be worried about is if they're getting the right sleep. Neurologists and psychologists have been debating for years the causes of depression. One of the things that they can agree on is that there are multiple causes to depression. One of the other things they can agree on is that sleep is one of those factors. In order to really understand this, we have to talk a little bit about circadian rhythm. So this is the process through which your body goes to sleep and wakes up. It's your brain releasing melatonin into the rest of your body to say, hey, it's time to go to bed, and then reducing those levels again when it's time to wake up. When you are younger, your circadian rhythm starts out earlier. You may be going to sleep around 8 o'clock and then waking up around 5 or whatever. But as you get older, your circadian rhythm progresses and gets later. Teens fall in the area of 11 o'clock and 8 a.m. What does this mean? This means that this is when they're going to get the best sleep. This is when their brains are telling them to go to sleep. It's going to be really hard to get a teenager to go to sleep before 11 o'clock p.m. And it's going to be really hard to get them to wake up before 8 o'clock a.m. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, I was up at 5:30 every morning. I hated it. I was up at 5:30. I was out the door by 6:45, and my day was starting at school, learning, by 7:15. Now, this can have some effects. Of course, you're going to see tired students coming in, especially in high school, with coffees in hand, which is another problem that we're not going to get into today. But teenagers need approximately 9 hours of sleep, according to Ann Wheaton, and less than 8% of them are actually getting what they should be. Now, if we do the math, they're waking up at 5:30 to get to school. They need to be going to bed around 8:30 in order to get 9 hours of sleep. We already talked about how it's really hard for teenagers to fall asleep before 11 o'clock. Now you're telling them, all right, 2.5 hours early, you need to go to bed in order to get a full night of sleep. The problem is, another problem is that some students, especially in your higher level classes, might still be doing homework at 8:30 in the evening. They've got so much going on, so many different assignments, they can't go to sleep that early without missing things. And now, teenagers not getting enough sleep can have a lot of health risks, obesity being one of them, and, of course, depression. Looking at some statistics, 17.7% of teens report suicidal thoughts, and 8.6% report suicidal attempts. Now, these numbers might seem a little bit small, a little insignificant, but when you think about it, there are millions of teenagers in the U.S. alone. That means that thousands, if not more, of these students are having these awful thoughts that I know from personal experience are not fun. They get in the way of schoolwork and hanging with friends and being with family. And this doesn't even take into account the kids who maybe, for whatever reason, didn't respond accurately when they were asked. It's really sad to see that this is the amount of kids that have been affected. Now, if this is so bad, we know that teenagers are depressed. Why is nobody doing anything to fix it? Well, they're trying. The American Academy of Pediatrics made a recommendation in 2014 saying that secondary schools should start no later than 8:30. Of course, not all schools listened. Some of them did, but there are still a lot of schools that start far before 8:30. They also view this insufficient sleep as a serious public health issue. This isn't just a couple cases here and there. This is a nationwide issue that a lot of people are devoted to trying to fix. Now, the easy solution, of course, is to say, well, just push back the school start times. Can't be that hard, right? Unfortunately, there are some issues with that, as former Seattle School Board member Stephen Blanford brought up. Buses are a concern. If multiple schools are letting out at one time, they need to make sure that there are enough buses to get everybody where they need to be. This can be solved by switching school start times. As I already said, younger kids tend to wake up earlier. So if they're waking up, at 5 o'clock, 5:30, then they can go in when the high schoolers would be, and high schoolers would be allowed to sleep a little bit later. The other issue is that a lot of times high schoolers do end up watching their younger siblings after school. And this can be a problem if the high schoolers are getting home after the younger kids. But, this takes a community to solve, right? They say it takes a village to raise a kid. If the community comes together, I'm sure they can find some responsible adults who would be willing to take care of the kids. Maybe parents who need the services could pitch in a couple of bucks, and they can get snacks and whatnot, and then the high schoolers can pick the kids up after they get out. So there are solutions here. They're not easy, they just need to be found. So what do we need to do then in order to fix this? How do we need to address this issue? Well, go to your school boards. Figure out solutions to these problems as a community. Go to your school boards, talk about it, write and sign petitions, call into state and federal officials and see if we can make this a legislative issue. And just keep that child in mind. We want to make sure that they are happy as long as possible. Preserving youth is more important now than ever. Starting school later may not end the crisis of mental health illnesses, but any opportunity that we have to reduce their risk should be taken. Let's make it easier for our future to fight.